Hey folks, welcome back to Military Forces Unleashed. Today we're diving into one of the most debated what-ifs in military history. And it's not just about strategy or firepower. It's about ideology, obsession, and the brutal cost of arrogance. Spoiler, we're talking about Adolf Hitler, and the question that haunts every WWII documentary. What if he had never launched Operation Barbarossa? What if, instead of invading the Soviet Union in 1941, he'd focused elsewhere? That single decision changed everything, from the Eastern Front to D-Day, from Stalingrad to Berlin in flames. So today we're rewinding time, stepping into an alternate timeline and asking, could Nazi Germany have won the war without ever going east?
Imagine this. It's early 1941. Britain is battered but still standing. The US hasn't entered the war yet, Europe is under Nazi control from Norway to France, and Hitler has a choice. He can go east, chasing Lebensraum, an ideological war against the Soviets, or he can finish off Britain, expand south through Africa and the Middle East, and choke the Allies out before they even get started. So what happens if he chooses differently? Let's find out.
To understand why Operation Barbarossa was such a turning point, we need to rewind to 1940. After defeating France in just 6 weeks, Hitler stood at the peak of his power. Britain was alone, fighting for survival after Dunkirk. The Luftwaffe bombed London night after night during the Battle of Britain. But despite heavy losses, the RAF held. Hitler shifted focus. He turned east, toward the Soviet Union. This wasn't just about territory. For Hitler, the USSR represented two things: ideological enemy number one, and Lebensraum, living space for Germans to conquer and dominate Slavic peoples. Operation Barbarossa was supposed to be quick: crush the Red Army in weeks, seize Ukraine's breadbasket, the Caucasus oil fields, and erase Bolshevism from Europe. But as Antony Beevor wrote in Stalingrad, Hitler's overconfidence was matched only by his ignorance of logistics, and that hubris would cost millions of lives. The invasion began on June 22, 1941. By December, German forces were frozen outside Moscow. The war had turned, and the Third Reich had begun its slow death spiral. Now imagine an alternate path. Hitler decides not to invade Russia. Instead, he delays or cancels Barbarossa entirely. What options did he have? Option 1. Focus on finishing off Britain with Operation Sea Lion, the planned invasion across the English Channel. But even with a year to prepare, the Kriegsmarine was hopelessly outmatched by the Royal Navy. And the RAF? Far from broken after the Battle of Britain, it was growing stronger. With more American aid coming via Lend-Lease, any new cross-channel attack would have been suicide. Another option: go south. Reinforce Erwin Rommel's Afrika Korps. Push through North Africa. Pressure Franco to allow access to Gibraltar, and cut Britain off from the Mediterranean. Control of the Suez Canal and Middle East oil would have crippled Allied supply lines. As Tyler Rogaway pointed out in The Drive, controlling oil meant controlling the war machine. With the Luftwaffe freed from the Eastern Front, the skies over the Med could have tilted in Germany's favor. Imagine a world where the Axis controlled Egypt, Iraq, and Iran. Or maybe delay Barbarossa until 1942, give the Wehrmacht time to rearm, exploit resources from occupied Europe, and strike a better prepared Red Army. But as historian Richard Overy argued, that extra year would also give Stalin time to recover from the purges, reorganize his forces, and deploy tanks like the T-34 and weapons like the Katyusha rocket launcher. So which path gives Nazi Germany the best chance? A southern push, a delayed eastern invasion, or avoiding the USSR altogether? Let's look at how these changes might have played out. Without the Eastern Front, the Wehrmacht wouldn't have bled dry on snow-covered roads and frozen trenches. No Stalingrad, no Kursk, no Soviet counteroffensives rolling westward into Berlin. The entire front that destroyed the German army simply doesn't exist. Instead, Rommel pushes past El Alamein, captures Cairo and Suez. British forces in the Middle East are trapped. The empire's lifeline is severed. Meanwhile, the Luftwaffe dominates the Mediterranean sky. Malta falls. The Royal Navy struggles to resupply. Churchill calls it the lowest point of the war. Now, it might become the final one. Even the United States might have hesitated entering the European theater directly. With Britain out, the Pacific becomes the main focus. Would the Soviets still have joined the Allies? Possibly, but without the Eastern Front dragging them in, maybe Stalin tries to stay neutral longer. And if Hitler avoids the USSR completely, does he avoid total annihilation? Here's where we get real. Even if Hitler chose another path, victory was never guaranteed. War is chaos, and Germany was already straining under the weight of its own ambitions. As James Fallows often says, strategy without logistics is fantasy, and Germany's logistics were crumbling even before Barbarossa. Fuel shortages, supply bottlenecks, and reliance on horses in a mechanized age. A southern campaign would have stretched their supply lines even further. Fighting in Africa and the Middle East isn't easier than fighting in Russia. It's just different hell. Plus, there's the question of timing. Delaying Barbarossa might have given the Soviets more time to prepare and made the eventual invasion even harder. And let's not forget, Stalin wasn't blind. He knew war with Germany was coming. Some historians argue he was planning to strike first, so even if Hitler hesitated, Stalin might not have. Then there's the moral angle. The Holocaust, the final solution, much of it was tied to the Eastern Front. Would delaying or canceling the invasion have changed the fate of millions? Also, consider the human cost. Millions of soldiers died in the East, but so did civilians. In cities burned, villages razed, and mass executions. This wasn't just a military campaign, it was genocide. In short, even if Hitler had chosen differently, the outcome might not have been better, just slower, more drawn out, more painful.
So, what did we learn from this little detour through the twisted corridors of alternate history? That Hitler's decision to invade the Soviet Union wasn't just reckless, it was suicidal. It was the moment Nazi Germany essentially grabbed a pen and started signing its own death certificate. No dramatic music needed, just pure, unfiltered strategic disaster. Storming into Russia drained Germany's war machine like a punctured fuel tank. It opened up a second front so vast and uncontrollable that even the mighty Wehrmacht couldn't hold it. And while Hitler was busy chasing ghosts in the snow, the Allies regrouped, rearmed, and got ready to hit back, hard. Truth is, the fate of the Third Reich was pretty much sealed long before Berlin fell into rubble. Now, could Germany have won without that invasion? Well, maybe, but not likely, because wars aren't won by tanks and planes alone. They're won by decisions, and Hitler, in case anyone needs reminding, made possibly the worst strategic decision of the entire 20th century, one that didn't just lose battles, it lost the war. And that's exactly what makes this whole story so damn fascinating. It's not just about tactics, territory, or timelines. It's about how a single choice can flip the course of world history on its head, forever. No need for time machines, just a ruler with a god complex and a map full of bad ideas. Before we wrap up, huge thanks for sticking around till the end. If you enjoyed this deep dive into World War II's alternate paths and catastrophic choices, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single maneuver. Oh, and drop a comment. What other what-if military scenario do you want to see next? Who knows? Your idea might just be the next mission we launch into. This was our first video going full throttle into historical breakdowns, strategic blunders, and the insane what-could-have-beens behind major wartime decisions. Welcome to Military Forces Unleashed, where we don't just tell the official version of events, we analyze it, challenge it, and yeah, sometimes totally reimagine it. Stay sharp, stay curious, and I'll see you on the next one.